welcome back to the broadcast. Hello, I'm actually Aubrey, and we're here for the year end review with my special guest, Mr. Alex Lee.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on?
All right. I'm just looking forward to the broadcast tonight. The year in review. This should
Ye-
be exciting.
Yeah. Hey, so what do you think? What do you think about Tiffany Haddish and this Common situation?
Wow, Tiffany Haddish in Common. Well, first of all, just to be blunt, Common can't stay with nobody. That's number one. So whatever whatever that's about, I don't know. I guess we maybe we'll interview Common one of these days and figure that out.
Right,
But
allegedly Common can.
yeah, allegedly, right? Allegedly, Common can't stay with nobody. Right.
Right.
We don't want a lawsuit or nothing like that. But I just think that relationships, period, are very, very tough. And I think relationships in that business are exceptionally tough. You know, you have the busyness, because Common was saying in an interview that I saw that they just both so busy, they don't even see each other. And
Mm.
there, there may be some validity there. Who knows?
Mhm.
A lot of people think he was a COVID boo or whatever. But whatever the situation is, those relationships in entertainment business, those marriages, they tend not to last long anyway. There's very few. I mean, you got Sam Jackson and his wife. They've been together for years, although they've gone through hell, of course. They've been together for years.
You
Denzel and his
got a
wife.
lot of people in showbiz, quiet as it's kept. You got a lot of people in showbiz and in any industry, but we're talking specifically showbiz, right?
Right.
That have been together a long time. You know, Samuel Jackson and his wife, as you said, is it Tanya,
Yeah,
uh,
Latanya. Hmm.
Latanya, and you've got Denzel, one of the top stars in the business, Denzel Washington and Paulette. You know,
Right. And
uh, you got you
you
got
also
many
have
other people, so it's not people can't blame their profession on what's going on in their relationships. I think that that's a reflection of what's going on with them personally is what I believe, like with Common and Tiffany, and more specifically with Common, right?
well, what do you think more specifically with Common? Because you also have, like you say, Angela Bassett and her husband, Courtney B. Vance. They've been together
Oh
forever.
yeah, that's a hometown guy right there, Courtney B. Vance from right here in Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah. So like, what I think is, I don't know enough, and I actually met Common once, briefly at a after a concert that he did with the Roots and of all people, John Legend, right? Um, I don't know personally because I don't know him, so I can't diagnose him. But from my observations, I think that he's not really ready for, nor does he want a committed relationship, a long-term committed relationship. And I think being at his age, I'm guessing he's like early 40s, late 30s, early 40s.
He's
Um,
49.
he's what?
He's 49.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he's a black George Clooney. So the thing of it is that at his age and the women that he's dating that are like Tiffany Haddish age that are early 40s, late 30s, and when he was dating Serena Williams, these are women that at their age, they've never been married. They want a husband, and most of them are going to want a family. And he already has a child, from my understanding. So for him, he may feel like he's got everything. He's got his career, he's got his status, his fame, and he's got his child. So he doesn't need a woman for anything else. And so that's kind of what I see on the outside looking in. That's just what I see.
And you have to also ask and wonder if what if the women didn't want to continue with those relationships as well. It's not, it's never one sided, you know.
No, you're absolutely right.
So Serena had her share of relationships before she settled down with who she's with now, and so forth. We know Erica Badu has had her share, of
Mhm.
relationships and things of that nature. So it's just kind of tough in that business. It's kind of tough when you're famous, um, to maintain a loving, structured kind of relationship. It can be done as we suggested earlier with the people that we named, but it's very, very tough. Very, very tough. And then what kind of BS do you got to put up with to maintain it for so many years? Because every relationship eventually will come with that BS. And you know it.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, someone said it on our last broadcast, and I can't recall who it was, but one of our uh, viewers was saying that everybody loves the newness of a relationship, but a lot of people really don't um, really want to do the work to maintain the relationship. So everybody wants to get a new car, and it's great, while the new car smell lasts and you can be there and have that new car, but after a year or two now you want to trade it in, but relationships shouldn't work the same way.
Yeah, and I heard Joyce Meyer say once that everything new gets old. And she said, if you don't believe me, drive by a junkyard and look in there. All those cars in there, all those cars were showroom floor at one point. Okay, but now they're in the
Right.
junkyard. Now they're in the junkyard. So listen, it's difficult. Things happen, as Kamisha has said. Kamisha's on. Hi, Kamisha. She
I
she
love her.
said
I love Kamisha.
Yeah, she said things happen, and that's true. So there's always behind the scenes stuff, in depth stuff that we don't know, but we know enough about relationships to know that they're very very difficult when you have two people from two entirely different backgrounds, different parents, different environments, different education, different everything, trying to come together and build something and mesh and make it work, and that's very very difficult in any walk.
That's right. That is so true. And so I mean, I'm not gonna put I can't put any blame. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. Some people pointed out that Tiffany kind of jumped the gun last year doing lockdown, right? So there was kind of like a lockdown situation. She kind of jumped the gun and kind of made the announcement that they were seeing each other, rather than allowing the gentleman to do that, rather than allowing Common to say, this is what it is. And in some ways it kind of reminds me a little bit of some other situations where we've seen where people just kind of jump the gun and uh, allow the man sometimes to take the lead. We as women could learn a lot about femininity, by just going back to some old school practices and allowing men to take the lead in the relationship, and
And
not
all
assume that because we're intimate in the bed that it means that it's actually a real relationship.
We just discussed this on the last live. And the reason why women don't let men do that, because it's that delusional, I'm a strong black woman, I can do my own thing, I can do anything a man can do, I can this, I can that. And with all of that going on, all this testosterone in these women, okay, a lot of them don't want to be treated like women anymore. So it leaves the gentleman at a disadvantage because you want to be a gentleman, you want to open doors, you want to bring flowers, you want to do that stuff, and it's not accepted anymore. Chivalry is dead, and as Dave Chappelle,
No, no, it is not.
listen,
I was just out yesterday and I posted on Facebook. I said, you know what? I am enjoying all these gentlemen out here with their ladies. And the one guy I was heading into, okay, I'm going to say it, I'm going to confess, the Dollar Tree while things are still a dollar. And this gentleman, I was like, I don't know, like how many feet away from him, like a good maybe 15 feet. And he stood there and I said, oh, I'm so far. I said, "Go ahead." He says, "No." And he stood there and he held the door for me. And then he held the second set of doors. And I said, "Thank you so much." And he couldn't see me under my mask because I was smiling broadly, but I saw it everywhere I went yesterday that chivalry is not dead. That's a
did he
lie.
did he did
That's
he
a
hold
lie.
did he hold the door and turn around and look at your butt in the process? Because that's probably why he held the door.
No, he was with his lady. No, he did not
Uh,
do any of that.
and the
Everybody
problem is,
doesn't everybody doesn't do that,
and the
Alex.
problem is, he was with his lady, and the problem is,
Well, he didn't have a wallet to drop to do all of that, but so hey, that it is what it is, as they say.
wow. Well,
Okay.
what do you think about the Nene Leakes dating so soon after her husband's death? How do you feel about that?
I'm gonna say something that's not gonna be very popular with some people, but but her beloved husband Greg, who I really enjoy, on Real Housewives of Atlanta. He was a stellar husband. I like the way he brought calmness to her. He soothed her, and he was very nurturing to her. And he was also a good friend to the other cast members on Real Housewives of Atlanta. But here's the thing: once Greg passed away, I think back in the summer, was that August or July or August? He's not going to be any more gone next year, 2 years from now, than he was the day that he passed away, right? And then I think what people have to realize is oftentimes when our spouses they have a long-term illness, that person has been caregiving and taking care of that person and watching their decline, while we might see a picture or two here or there and said, oh, he's got a relapse, the cancer has come back, and we just think about it for a moment, we throw out a prayer and we keep it moving. But that person, because I've been a caregiver at least twice in my life unto death, and that was both my parents, so I understand what it is like to see somebody become a shell of their former selves. So nobody really understands unless you've been a caregiver. You don't really understand what that's like, right?
Right, right. And I'm gonna sign off on that. First of all, I'm gonna say too, my condolences for Greg. I liked Greg on the show as well. Um, what I liked most about Greg, he was a gentleman.
Mhm.
Greg was a gentleman, and he was a man's man, which is a forgotten term today. Being a man's man, it's a forgotten term today. But that's what I liked him for, and he added that balance to Nene Leakes, who was off the chain at times. We know how Nene was at times.
Yeah, Nene.
So, so
Nene was
yeah,
her
he
own person, but he brought, like I
right,
said, he brought calm to her. He really
right,
did. He could
but
handle her.
he could. And but in these situations, and it's the same thing with Bernie Mac's widow and so forth. Usually, when you have a long term spouse that's sick and so forth, and this may not be popular either, there's usually someone with you, you guiding you through this, being there as a voice of reason, someone, a shoulder you can cry on. So there's always somebody there waiting. Now, it seems insensitive to sit up there and say they're waiting for the person to die, but they're actually being there for you in case that happens. And since they were there for you, you feel their strength, you feed off of them. And when the person does pass on, who else are you going to turn to? They were there for you. When you need somebody, they were there in your most harsh times. They were there. So that's who you'll marry. Bernie Mac's widow married the guy that was there with her during Bernie's decline and so forth, and was there for her. So that
Mhm.
happens. It may not be popular with the listenership or whatever, but listen, we live and we die. It's the reality. We're all leaving here. So I mean, my second wife passed away. So I can tell you personally that those things happen. You move on. You never forget them. There's always a void in your heart, that a hole in your heart that's always going to be there, that can't be replaced. But you can move on and love and be happy again. So and why should you mourn alone? You don't have to mourn alone to to
No.
to appease people who think you should not have anybody. Why should you mourn by yourself in the house, by yourself in a dark room, crying every day all day because you don't want people to say you moved on too quickly? That's not fair to you.
Right, right. And I see Kamisha from Kamisha Review. She's such a wonderful lady. You guys already know she is just awesome. She's on it. She is like the best blogger in the world. Kamisha is saying, she wants to say that she's sorry for your loss, Alex. And then she
Yep.
also said that you had so many good points and facts that you just pointed out that, you can't, unfortunately. I watched a friend of mine when her father, who was kind of like a second father to me when he passed away. And some good time had went by. We're not talking about weeks or days or months. We're talking about some years that went by, and her mother, who was a little bit younger than the father, but mature woman, wanted to begin seeing some men, a gentleman at her church. And my girlfriend was livid, and she had all these mean things to say, and just kind of imploring her mother, don't do it, don't date, what about dad? What about dad? Well, Sweetheart, dad has passed away. He's on in glory now. And I don't think people understand, but I said, one day if you live long enough, that expression, just keep living. If you live long enough, you might live long enough to understand what it's like to be without, your partner, your husband, your wife, your spouse. But it doesn't mean that there's not love still available for you. So I don't put down anybody for seeking love, seeking comfort from someone else. I don't. I mean, if that's what they feel like in their spirit, who am I to say?
Well,
Oh, honey. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and I want to thank Kamisha for her condolences. I really appreciate it. And I see her post that she lost her dad in 2011. So my condolences to you as well, Kamisha, for losing your dad in 2011. Um, I just want to say that before people get into the habit of judging people for whatever the circumstances are, they really need to take a long, hard look in the mirror first. What are you doing, or what have you done that you think some folks may consider suspect or not the right thing or so forth, or things that you know you're doing without integrity, but you do them anyway. But you want to look at other people and judge their situations. You can't do that because we're all human. And what does the Bible say? He who's without sin cast the first stone. Look, there's not a person walking who don't deserve a rock upside the head. You know what I mean? Because we've all been there.
Right.
So we can't judge Mimi for it. I'm pretty sure she has her reasons. Thank you, Bright Star. Thank you, Bright Star. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, so but
Yeah, I don't judge her at all. I will say this. I want to just add this real quick. I feel like there's a little bit of shenanigans going on with I feel like there's a little bit of shenanigans going on with Nene right now, though, too, with the two lovers allegedly. There's the young boyfriend that's very very young, and then there's the age appropriate boyfriend. So I feel like there may be a little bit of shenanigans going on in that. I'm not sure which one is the real boyfriend, and if those pictures that were taken of her in bed with the young stud muffin, if that may be that she is working on trying to get a deal to be back on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm thinking that's just me allegedly. I'm just thinking now.
but you
Kamisha, if you're still out there, what do you think about that?
but you know that's the new thing with a lot of women or this cougar syndrome. They go after these young guys. Kim Kardashian's mom did the same thing. When Bruce Jenner went through his transformation or whatever, and that marriage was over. She had a much, much younger guy, a black guy, you know, and that tends to be the cycle. I guess you want to call it a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. But a lot of women go through this. They want to chase younger guys. Now, older guys, we're considered going through a midlife crisis because we want to get old and get sports cars and motorcycles and still go to strip clubs and all that kind of stuff, trying to stay young. More mature women go and find some younger guys to try to keep them young and so forth. So we have different ways of doing it, but both genders experience midlife crisis without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think that both genders definitely experience midlife crisis. And I think we have to be aware of that, that sometimes when you start feeling all this internal pull to do this thing and to do that thing, you might want to just get centered, go in your little private closet, and whatever you believe in, whatever meditation that is, you might just want to get quiet, maybe pull out a journal and start taking some notes, and don't make any rash decisions right away. And that's also so I also do grief recovery, right? So and it's a program for people that have lost spouses, parents, children. And one of the things is that we talk about in grief recovery is that it's important not to do anything really major that you don't have to do in that first year of loss, right? So when you're making a decision to maybe sell a house, um, to move or to do this or do that, you just really have to stop and get quiet and get still and see what is in store, because sometimes you move too fast and you make a really major mistake.
Exactly. That's right. And that you'll regret later. See, no decision. I know this from being in business. Okay. You should never make any kind of financial decisions from an emotional perspective. If you're too emotional, step back. Don't make any decisions because those are going to be the wrong decisions to make. So and typically, it's going to be the wrong decision because you're emotional. Your heart, your mind's all over the place, and you want to feel good about something, or you want to feel like you're taking action. But a lot of times, those sudden actions tend to be wrong. And Bright Star says, I heard that too. That Nene was with two boyfriends. See, I didn't hear that. It would be interesting.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, well, again, because Nene, you got to remember, Nene does things too, and a lot of these celebrities, they sometimes do things that are centered around just getting attention in social media, getting that new contract, getting that attention to get them, back where they were to get this next job, this next gig. So it's very possible. I'm not sure. Like I said, it's just, it's a
But you know,
thought.
but you know what, Aubrey? After taking care of a sick spouse for as long as she did that, again, God bless Greg for being in the hereafter. She probably want to just live now. You get to the point now. Oh, you're sorry they're gone, but it's a sense of relief that they're no longer suffering, that
Right.
you no longer have this heavy responsibility. And I know this because I took care of my mother. Me and my brothers took care of my mother for 18 years of her life. My mother had a
Mm,
massive stroke at 42.
wow.
Okay, and she finally succumbed to that at 61 because she had another minor stroke at 60 and she succumbed at 61. And we took care of her all them years. So it's a thing where my mind passed, and 60, 60, 61 is very, very young. Okay. But
Right.
she suffered in them last 18 years or so. So we was like, oh, we gonna miss mom, but hey, she's not suffering no more. She can walk again. She look beautiful again. All these kind of things. And you want to go on now living your life because your life has been on hold. You know what I mean? Taking care of this sick person, being a caregiver. You put your life on hold
Right.
because your love for them. But now you can go out and spread your wings again and fly again and don't care what nobody has to say about it. Because they weren't there in those dark moments.
All right. Like I said, I've seen it even with my father, family members that had this to say and that to say. And then I was like, but like he was ill for over a year. Where were you? Did you come visit him? No.
Mm,
Everybody, you've got so much to say at the funeral and after the funeral, but where were you? Like, how many
mm,
times did we see you? Maybe you called once or twice to check on us. Maybe you came by the hospice once, but this is something that me and my mother did daily. This is something we lived with. We watched him go down from cancer, like so. I don't even want to, I don't even want to
right,
go there. But you
right.
get what I'm saying, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So we know what that's about. I wish Nene Leaks the best moving forward. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And we all know what it's like at this point in our life to lose somebody, particularly during this COVID era. We're losing a lot of people right now. I mean, people die every day, obviously, but this COVID thing, the last going on 2 years, this coming March, it'll be 2 years of COVID. Okay.
Right.
And this has been absolutely insane. Okay. So that, and not to mention the bad weather been going on across the country and this and that and school shooting. It's been crazy, but that's a little bit too heavy for this podcast. We're going to,
Yeah, we're gonna go on to Dr. Dre.
right.
What do you think about the Dr. Dre situation and his ex-wife and the massive divorce settlement that was awarded to his wife?
Yeah. 100 million. No D. 100. Forget the D. Okay. 100 million. That's a lot of money. But you know what? They were together 24 years. So is 24 years, does 24 years warrant $100 million? I think so. I think so. Because again, she's married to a global superstar, a global icon. All right. And when women are married to these guys, I'm not saying they don't love the guys and the guys don't love them, but these women put up with some mess from these guys. I'm telling you, because the whole world worships them. Every woman in the world wants these guys. There's no respect for the wives or the women in their life. So these women put up with some crap and they stay there and they stay there and they stay there and they raise the children and they care for the house and they take the abuse and they take everything that happens, the scandals, they live through the scandals and all this kind of stuff. And
Right.
when they finally get fed up, everybody's going, she ain't worth that kind of money. What the hell are you talking about? All that stuff she put up with. So,
Well, I
I,
think, and I think that the important thing too, what you're saying, I'm not negating that, but also that she was there for the building. She was there for the building. I mean, before he was quote unquote Dr. Dre, he was her husband. And she was by his side while he was going through those late night gigs that barely paid, probably working a regular job, keeping the mortgage, the rent paid, right? So I don't think that anybody who hasn't been through that type of marriage where, like, for example, oftentimes there's been situations where on a less known scale where women have put their husbands through medical school, law school, and all these different professions that tend to pay very well, right? So when you've done all those kind of things and you sacrifice and the marriage has been built on your back and your strength, I mean, there's no dollar amount that you can attach to that. I don't think.
well, and I want to say, Bright Star, our condolences to you for your godmother's passing due to the stage 4 cancer. So our condolences to you as well. And thank you for listening tonight.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate you. But
Thank you so much. Thank
yeah,
you, Bright
a
Star.
lot of times too, people tend to equate when a woman gets that kind of a divorce settlement or whatever. The first thing that the talk in the streets is her private part worth that much money. We throw everything at her private
Oh, we're
part.
not gonna go there again, are we?
Listen,
Oh, no.
it's
Okay,
what it
okay.
is. It's what it
You know
is.
what? That you know what? A
You know
person
the
that
talk,
thinks
Aubrey. You know how it is.
a person that thinks that way, they're kind of a sad person anyway. That's a very
But,
sad way to think about things. And you know
but
what? That again, we talk about people being transactional. That's a transactional way of looking at it. You're never going to have success when you think of things as, you know, you owe me, I owe you. You no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that
listen,
way.
I let off with I think she deserves that, maybe even more. So I
Yeah.
don't tend to think that way. Now, let's say
No, not
it was
saying you. I'm just saying I wasn't. I'm sorry. If I was unclear, let me clarify. I didn't mean you specifically, Alex. I said the person who thinks that way, and I really wasn't speaking to you. No.
right. Now, let's say, you know, he was already Dr. Dre or whoever it is a multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever the case may be, and he met the woman a year ago, married, and within a year or two, they're divorced. Now, totally different situation than a 24, 25-year, 30-year marriage. Totally different because the way she's going to be viewed is a gold digger, straight up automatically. Now, he chose her. Whoever the guy is chose that. He gonna have to eat it. But the general public will see that as gold digging at its finest. And there's just no way around that.
Right. Well, generally speaking, what the first thing is going to happen if someone is already successful, uber successful and famous, or even just uber successful financially, the first thing is 9 out of 10, they're going to get a prenup, right? And then the second thing is that the laws don't really allow for somebody that has a brief marriage of 6 months, a year and a half, to really just come in and claim all the property. That's not really generally how that works. And that's why a lot of times people look at, have you been married 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 20 years, 15 years? That's kind of where the 10-year mark is kind of where a lot of courts begin to put a lot of uh, weight on that 10 years. She's had some babies, some children for this person, this man, her husband. But just generally speaking, a 1 year, 2 year marriage is not somebody that's going to claim, because for example, whatever property he came into the marriage with is going to generally revert back to him, and whatever property she came in with is going to revert back to her.
Right, right. If there's a prenup, but if there's no prenup, then everything's marital property, marital debt, marital property, whatever. So the court it makes the math very easy for the court, very easy. Because that's why I said before in one of our previous podcasts that marriage is a business contract, it's a business arrangement. And no one wants to see it that way because we all want to have the big elaborate weddings and walk on the cloud and do all this stuff and so forth and so on and think about the love aspect of it and having the children, whatever. At the end of the day, this is business, okay? Because you have to manage a household, you have to manage finances, you have to manage people, same thing you would do in a corporation, so yeah,
Okay.
same
Oh
thing
my
you would do in a
goodness, your take
corporation.
on marriage. Your take on marriage. Gosh. Well, you're
Listen,
right. It is a contract. I mean, when you get married, it's a legally binding contract that can be broken, but you have to go through a court of law to break it, right?
right.
So I mean, I don't know about the business part. I don't
No,
know. I don't know
listen,
about all that.
Aubrey.
I'm
When,
okay.
when,
I'm listening.
when you go out and when you go out when you go out and shop for your household, right?
Hmm.
You see what the house needs, right? You go out and get
Yes.
you go out and get your toiletries, your cleaning supplies. You get your food. Everybody eats their favorite food. You pick that up. You do that's that's household management. That's management. Okay. Then you have to make sure the house is clean. So you have to delegate duties to each child. You got multiple children. You do this. You
Hmm.
do that. You do this. All right. That's delegating duties. Then you do the financing. That's the budget structure. We got enough. We got enough for this over here. We're gonna put this money over there. We're gonna do that over there. Then you have the carpooling. That's transportation.
Right.
Listen, you may not want to look at it that way, but that's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. We love the person. We love the person, but all that other stuff comes into play, and if not equally important, even more important than the love aspect in itself.
Yeah, you got a great point. You got a great point. Well, Bright Star brings up an interesting point. I want to read this. Okay. Bright Star says, "What do you guys think about Kanye West buying the house right next to Kim Kardashian even after the divorce?" And she says that Kim is currently dating, but Kanye still wants her back. She wants to hear our thoughts about that. Let's move on to the Kanye and the the Kanye and the Kim K situation. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
Hey, Kanye crazy as hell. I would
Allegedly, Alex.
I would not want to be next door and watching men parade in and out of my ex's house. What are you going to do? Go and peek through the windows and watch to see what she's doing, and
Well,
possibly see something you can't unsee. You
oh
know,
Lord.
this is listen. Hey, this is a clear indication he hasn't moved on yet. Totally, he hasn't moved on. He hasn't moved on at all. He moved right next door.
Well,
Okay.
you know what now? Okay. So that's one thought that you have on that. Now, how about this? I got an opposing thought or a different thought. How about don't the two of them share four beautiful children that they created together, right? Within their marriage when they were married. So how about maybe he moves so close to her so that like if she does want to go out or whatever, instead of her calling up a stranger to babysit the kids, he's right there. I mean, assuming that he's home. And I know he's traveling and he's a busy person too, but so he may be there so that they can co-parent because the reality is, however they feel about each other and whoever wants whomever, they still have to raise those kids for the next couple of decades.
Okay. Well, here's my point to this. We're gonna go back a couple of podcasts.
I'm waiting for you to
Okay.
give me a raspberry. Oh Lord.
Yeah, we go back a couple of podcasts so I can make this point. Okay.
Hmm. Oh Lord.
You
Oh
have to
Lord.
drop. Listen, I'm coming to pick the kids up. You going out. They drive. They got the best cars you could have. They got the best cars money could buy. Drive over, pick the kids up, take them back to your house. She can drop the kids off before her date, whatever. You ain't got to be next door. You don't have to be next door.
Bright Star says binoculars and whatnot.
Right, exactly.
Kanye with the binoculars looking over her and the telescope looking in her window.
Listen, Bright Star, he tiptoeing on the lawn trying to peek through the window. That's what he's doing.
Security,
Yeah,
security.
security. Exactly. I would not do that. I would not do that. I'm not living next door to an ex and watch her parade men in and out of there or having parties or whatever it is that they're doing. Listen,
I don't know that she's doing all of that, Alex. That's
maybe she is,
allegedly.
maybe she is, maybe she's not. But if
Mm.
she is, it's her life. Why does he have to subject himself to seeing that? And then out of respect, let's say she still has a lot of respect for him, and I don't doubt that she do. She may not want him to see that, so she may be trying to cut her life off or guard herself from disrespecting him and not living her full life and not moving on in that way. It's a strange dichotomy to live right next door to your ex when you still want her back, but she's trying to move on. You trying
Yeah,
to force you trying to force yourself into somebody's life that don't want you there in that capacity. Can still love you, but don't want you there in a relationship capacity anymore.
you got a good point. I mean, I don't know. I've never had an ex that I've ever wanted to be close to after it was over with. I'm just like, okay, you go on the other side of town and I'll stay over here or whatever.
My point
I'm not
exactly.
yeah, I'm not, but you know what? But I will say the good thing about that was we didn't have children together, so thank God, because
Right.
if you did, you got to kind of look at it a little differently, Alex, I think. But you're right. You don't have to live that close. And like you
Right.
said, they all have cars and vehicles and drivers and all that good stuff. So who knows? I don't know. I
Right,
don't know.
right. So I think it's a little strange. I wouldn't do it. I think Kanye has always been a little bit strange. He's a genius. You know what? It's crazy because all these geniuses are always a little strange in their behavior. You think back to some of the greatest geniuses. Bootsy Collins would say that about James Brown. Bootsy Collins is a great guitarist, played with
Hmm.
Parliament, played with
I
Parliament
know.
Funkadelic,
You
right?
know I know who that is. Come
I don't
on
know.
now.
I don't know what you know.
Oh yeah, some of our listeners, some of our audience may not know, but I know who it is. But yeah, but what about him? What did he
but,
say
but
about James Brown?
he started out with the JBs. He started out with James Brown. That's how he got his start.
Oh yeah, I heard
Mhm.
that. Right,
Right.
right. Okay.
And James Brown, Boosie Collins said no matter what he did, James Brown had a complaint. It didn't matter. And Boosie
Really?
Collins always had a complaint. And Boosie Collins said they out there one night playing in a concert, and Boosie Collins and his boy, they was killing it. The audience was loving them, right? The show was over. They get backstage. James Brown shaking his head. Bootsy, let me tell you, Bootsy. What's the matter, James? You wasn't on the one, Bootsy. You wasn't on the one.
Yeah, you got to be on the one when you with him. He was not. Is that where that came from? On the
Yeah,
one.
you got to be on the one, Bootsy. Hey, you got to be on the one. So Bootsy said, you know what? I'm done. I'm not worried about it no more because something about these geniuses was always something wrong with them. But they're geniuses in what they
Yeah,
do.
that's true. That's
You
true.
know. So it's strange, but you know what I want to talk about now?
Yeah, tell me what you want to talk about.
I want to talk about how this feel. We gonna get to ready to love thing now. How this
Yeah,
feel is
okay, let's
Shiloh.
go for it. Let's
Yeah,
go for it.
I want to know how this two things. How this feel and Shiloh thing is going to play out, and why are these cast members like Zadia? Why are they blocking people on social media? You a public figure now. Now you upset that
What's
people are
going
saying
on with that? What's going on? Because I read something, I saw something earlier today where Kamisha reviews where she was blocked by Zadia from this season's Ready to Love DC edition, right?
right,
I don't
right.
understand that. Like, what's the point? Bloggers like Kamisha bring more viewers to the show because when they see Kamisha's review, that makes them want to turn it on and say, wait, what's really going on? This sounds like a good show.
Well, listen. There are two things. There are two aspects of being blocked. Okay. The first aspect is sometimes when you a celebrity or you get into the public view or whatever, you do get your share of haters. People saying anything they want to you. They feel like they got an open game to open their mouth sideways to you and whatever. And you ain't got to take that stuff. So you can block them. Okay. The second aspect of it is, though, is when people telling you what you need to hear or calling you out on something that's true. Okay. Now you get up in your feelings and want to block people. Now that's wrong. Okay. You need to man up or woman up, take the
Mm-hmm.
criticism, take accountability for your actions.
Right.
Okay. Apologize if necessary. Let the audience, let the people know. Listen, I'm only human. I made a mistake. I
Right.
apologize.
Zadia clearly made a mistake, and I'm sitting up here waiting. I think a lot of people are very understanding if you get ahead of it and you say, after it's happened. I mean, so it happened, okay? She made a mistake. Admit that you made a mistake. Humble yourself. But see, the problem is a lot of people don't want to humble themselves. They're into their ego, and their ego is swollen because what? You've been on this national, international TV show, and people are pumping you up. They're piling onto your IG page, and now you're a celebrity of some sort. But what she doesn't understand is somebody like Kamisha Reviews. Kamisha Review will still be relevant weeks, months, years after no one's even thinking about Zadia anymore. Kamisha Review will still be relevant.
I think she got to do a lot of damage control at this point because there are a lot of people angry at Zadia right now. For that, putting her hands on Dante and putting her finger in his nose and
Yeah.
basically being violent towards him. Okay?
Violence. That was
So
definitely violence.
verbally and physically. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so whether she
Cursed
apologized,
him out. She cursed him out.
yeah,
Called him everything but a child of God. I mean, and all of this because why? Because he chose another woman over you? Really?
and
Girl, it's a
and
dating show.
and that's the thing. He didn't even choose Aisha over her. He's just interested in Aisha. But he was also interested in Zadia. She blew it on her own. Zadia
Yes,
blew her own thing.
she blew her own spot up.
Blew her own spot up. So he's like, I can't deal with that mess. So people would think because I'm a Brooklyn, New Yorker, and so is Aisha. So New Yorkers, we high energy, we in your face, we let you know how it is, all that. So
Right.
people probably would expect that from Aisha, but that's not what they're getting from Aisha. They're getting a sense of womanhood, vulnerability, motherhood,
Femininity. Yep.
femininity, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay. And what they're getting from Zadia is an air of masculinity, brashness,
Testosterone.
testosterone, bullying, all these different kind of things. And again, like you said, if she don't get out ahead of it, okay, she's gonna be a has-been before she ever was a was.
It's only a couple of more episodes before we get to the reunion, and I'm thinking I just really want to see how OWN and how the show is going to deal with this. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, with regarding Phil and Shiloh in the bar and him putting his hands on her and carrying her when she wanted to leave or so forth, because again, she let her guard down and told everybody that Phil was her choice.
Right.
Phil is like, okay, he's not ready to go there. So I guess when they was out on a date, she asked him again, I'm choosing you. What do you want to do? He says, I got you. Now that's the man's way of saying I got you and everybody else too. So
So when the guy says I've got you, he don't
right,
really got you. He don't really
no,
have you, huh?
I got you when I'm with you.
I had a work partner once that said I got you, and he had me all messed up. And ever since he said that to me, anytime I hear somebody say I got you, I know they don't have me. I
They ain't
know
got
they
you.
don't have me.
They ain't got you. They ain't got you. I
Mm-mm.
got I got a son, my youngest son.
Right.
He just turned 25 on Monday, right? Monday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Right, thank you. He just turned
Happy
25
belated
on
birthday.
Monday, and he he always, right? You know when children ask their parents, I don't care if they're grown or not, they ask their parents for money. Can you loan me this? Forget about loan,
Is that
okay?
what he's saying? Is a
Because you
loan,
like
huh? Now,
you
what they say sometimes, will you let me hold $50, $100, $1,000, $2,000?
right, right. Let me hold it, really? And then
Yeah, let
so
me
this,
hold it.
yeah, yeah,
I'ma hold
yeah,
it.
yeah. I got something you can hold, okay? But you sit up there and
PG
it
13, Alex. PG 13.
now. Would I use harsh language on this?
No, of course not.
But anyway, he used the word loan or can I hold this or whatever, and you give it to him, and he go, "Don't worry, Dad, I got you. You ain't got a damn thing. You know I'ma never see that money again ever in
E-
life."
Ever in life.
And he know that when he say it, but he'll say it every time. I got you. That's code word for you can forget about this money. So
Is that what it is? Really, you can forget about this
you
three
forget about this
thousand
money.
dollars or whatever it is.
And guess what? When Phil said that to Shiloh, that's code word for you can forget about a commitment.
Oh wow. I'm just looking at, with feeling Shiloh. I feel bad for her, but then again, I don't. But I understand that as therapy, um, oftentimes the therapists in their own private situation, they don't really, maybe don't see what they see for other people. They can see everything, right? But when you're personally, emotionally involved in it, right? And this is why I wonder with Shiloh and Phil. I think that intimacy guru. I wonder, did she have some intimacy with as people are calling him in the YouTube streets, player Phil. Was there some intimacy involved, because there seems to be a lot going on right there between the two of them.
Yeah.
There seems to
They-
be a
they-
lot going on. What do you think?
I mean, there may have been some intimacies. Again, they want to date off camera, I guess, behind the TV show. We may see some Friday, some of it, and I'm curious to know or to see how the network is going to handle this, because this can be misconstrued as a domestic violence situation, putting your hands on a woman when she didn't want you to put your hands on her or whatever the case may be. But I'm curious because nothing happened to Zadia, and she struck Dante. She struck him. Let's just
She
be honest
did.
about
She
it.
did.
Okay. So if nothing happened to her, what can you possibly do to Phil in this regard? Okay, because I'm sure Phil didn't mean no harm in that. He got caught up in his feelings. She was trying to walk out. He wanted to grab her and keep her there, and he picked her up. Now that's probably wrong. I'm not justifying it or defending it. I'm just saying men get caught up in their emotions too, just like women do. Okay, and I think he really really likes her, but
I think so. I think he does.
in my opinion, at the end of the day, I think he wants Sydney. Ultimately, I think.
Well, I think that, like a lot of men, they want the newest, like we were just talking about a minute ago. A lot of people look at the newest, shiniest thing, and they're easily their head. It's like that guy that drops his wallet when a woman comes by with
Oh,
the
jeez.
it's just one of those things that men, and
Lord.
especially immature men. So women, we really have to be cognizant and mindful that when you see a guy that's just, immature, head's always on swivel, looking at the next woman, that he's really not ready for a relationship. That's a strong possibility. He's not
Why?
ready. And
Why is it?
you shouldn't think, I just got to say this part. You shouldn't think as a woman that your magic stuff is going to change him, because it ain't. It's not going to change. Ask Tiffany Haddish. It's not going to change him.
Aubrey, why is it immature not to want a person? If you don't want him, you don't want him. Why is that immature?
No, no, no. You didn't say, we're not speaking on men that don't want a particular woman. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But what I'm talking about is Phil has shown himself to be on the fence, or that he wants both. See, that's the very reason why when they had when Phil and Shiloh had the scenes in the kitchen at the resort, if you recall, he was unable to answer her, and he kissed her. He kissed her to shut her up, because he had the opportunity then and there to say, well, you know what? I really like you, blase spleen, but I'm leaning more towards someone else right now. He could have
Mm.
said that, right? Nothing's stopping him.
Nothing
But see,
stopping them.
but when you want to have your cake and eat it too, when you want to have multiples, and you're not even man enough to speak on it and just come out and communicate that desire, that's what makes you immature.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about multiples. We talked about that last podcast.
Anywho, anywho.
Anywho, hooty hooty, hooty
But
hoo.
you know what? Someone, okay, so speaking on Ready to Love, we'll move on. So speaking on Ready to Love, I just want to give a shout out to fellow bloggers. Of the Ages and Stages podcast. Hey, shout out to you guys. Um, they're a couple that came out of the Ready to Love franchise, the Houston edition, the first season of Houston edition, right? So whatever that was, I guess I would call it season 3, but own might label it something else. But anyway, Simone the attorney and Rashid the car god, they are now officially a couple. So shout out to them. What do you
Oh
think
yeah.
about that? What do you think about that, Alex?
Well, I think it's totally out of the character of these shows that they made it, and I'm happy that they've made it because most of these people don't make it. And I'm talking about Ready to Love. I'm talking about The Bachelor. I'm talking about Family or Fiance. I'm talking, all these people don't make it because every relationship in the beginning you have that high. The high, you can't stop touching each other. You can't stay up off each other. You can't stay out of each other's You got all this stuff going on, the sexual tension and all, and it's a beautiful thing in the beginning. But that can't be sustained over the long haul. So when real life intervenes and steps in, and you got to do other stuff, you get a little bit busy and this and that, and you can't have sex twice a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and so forth. The relationship starts to slowly, okay, suffer unless you understand this dynamic and know how to do other things to supplement that loss of intimacy or loss of affection, and plan date nights and do surprise things like send flowers to a job, or something like that, or send cake to a job or whatever. You got to find ways to supplement that, because that initial
Mhm.
walking on the cloud and being in bed all day every day and sneaking into a closet, for a little quick thing, that stuff doesn't last long. It may last for a
Okay.
couple of years or so, but it's not going to sustain a relationship for the long term. And once people get tired of that, and the work starts to kick in, oh no, I didn't sign up for this. They ready to walk.
Right. That's right. That's right. Well, yeah, that happens. You know, people get bored easily these days. We have short attention spans nowadays, right?
Right. But see, this is
Mm.
why a lot of times too, people stay in stuff a long time, even though they're not happy anymore, because it's like
Mm.
the same thing going to happen if I go to the next guy or the next woman. It's going to be good for the first couple of years, and then it's going to start to go downhill or whatever. And people stay in stuff 10, 15 years before they get so sick to their stomach that they go, listen, I can't take it no more. I'm out of here. you know. But it's the same cycle. This is why you have to have other types of chemistry. You have to be of like mind in business, in family. You have to have things to talk about, a myriad of topics. You can't just talk about one thing all the time. You gotta, make phone calls during the day, just thinking about you, so forth and so on. You got to do stuff like that. If you're not willing to do stuff like that, it's not going to sustain a relationship. That's where the work begins. That's where the work is.
You're
So
right. You're right. You're right. Pouring into the relationship, it is work. And I think it starts early on. I think when you're married, I think that it's a good idea to have a counselor, a professional counselor, not a pastor, not a friend, not your girlfriend, not his guy friend, his homie, but an actual real certified counselor that you guys have seen and agreed to, even if you have to go see multiple therapists until you're satisfied and you have someone that will work with you throughout your marriage. There's nothing wrong with that. Have you heard, on that note, Alex, have you heard that this year, this last couple of years, that there have been a lot of uh, relationships that have dissolved because of all the time people have spent at home with one another?
In record numbers, Aubrey. Record numbers. And I'm gonna tell you one reason why. The reason why, because when people got cooped up together, and listen, it may sound funny, but I'm just telling you, when spouses got cooped up together and could not get out to their side piece, it caused a lot of tension in the house.
Oh, you making me think of Love and Marriage Huntsville with Martell
Listen,
and Melody.
not, not, not
That's
only
how
could
she discovered that he was still with his side piece, because he was out and about during a whole lockdown.
during COVID. Where you at during COVID? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so when people were locked down together, not only could they not get out, you know, within reason to their side piece, you couldn't even get a text or a phone call because you were locked up with your spouse. So how you gonna get all kind of texts, phone calls, dirty pictures or whatever, and your spouse right there in the house with you 24/7, 7 days a week.
And the 4 kids that you guys created together.
Right. And
Oh Lord.
before you know it, you at each other's throat, all that tension built up, whatever, marriage suffers. Before you know it, people coming out of COVID, oh, they got divorced. The divorce rate went sky high, blah, blah. Because people really realize, see, when you got a job and you gone 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and you come home and you spend maybe 2 hours, 3 hours with your spouse, you watch TV, you cook dinner, you take a shower, you go to bed, whatever. That's only 2, 3 hours a day that you even see your spouse and your children or whatever.
Right.
Okay,
One
so
may get into bed before the other one even gets home from work or whatever.
exactly, I may come in, you in the bed sleep already or whatever. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot
Right.
of times people don't really even know each other, honestly. Okay, so what COVID did was say, now I gotta really get to know you, and I don't like you. No,
Right.
I don't like you. I'm looking at you. You do all kind of crazy. Is this what you do when I'm not around? I don't like you. So that caused a lot of tension. A lot of marriages went by the wayside. No shame. Okay, marriage. Sometimes marriage works. Sometimes it don't. Over 50 to 60% of marriages, first marriages, end in divorce. That number's high. That's a high number. Okay,
Right.
because
Speaking
typically people get married for the wrong reasons.
Well, speaking of marriage, so what do you think about Pastor Devon Franklin filing for divorce from Megan Good? That took a lot of people by surprise. You know, they appear to be the power couple of Hollywood, that black power couple. They look so good together. They look they're beautiful, they're charming, they're successful. So what do you think happened?
Well, you're right. They're good looking people. The both of them very good looking people. Um,
Yes, indeed.
you always got this taboo thing because Devon is a pastor or a deacon or whatever, but he's very heavy into the ministry.
Right,
Okay,
into ministry.
and he's been in that for a long, long time. Okay, Megan was not. Megan was a Hollywood woman and trying to make her bones through Hollywood and doing God knows what or whatever. And they both took these vows of celibacy until they got married. Now, on the surface, that's great. You know, we get married before we, touch each other or whatever the case is. But when you get used to certain things, and once you learn stuff, it's hard to unlearn stuff. It's hard to unlearn it. Okay. So Megan was kind of out there.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh, okay, yeah, because she grew up in Hollywood, if I'm not
She grew up in
mistaken. She was a
Hollywood.
child star.
Yeah.
Going back as far as Eve's Bayou, and I think there was
Right.
some other film. Was there another
Yeah.
film that she was in as a child?
Yeah. You go back to Ice Cube's Friday. When Big Worm pulled up the ice cream truck, she was one of the little kids at the ice cream truck.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Yeah, she was real little. She was not but a child then. So she grew up in this stuff. So she of course she went to all the parties and dated this one or dated that one and did her Hollywood thing and coming up in the business. So you kind of get accustomed to doing some things, and having those added pressures of being a pastor's wife or a deacon's wife or a bishop's wife, whatever. That's a lot of pressure because everybody looking at you to be perfect, this new perfect angel, and all this stuff. Like you didn't have a past, or you got to live for them now because you're in the church and so forth, and and not even all her. I'm pretty sure the Devon has some force of his own and felt the pressures of that.
Mhm. Right.
But it's supposed to be taboo to for particularly for pastors or people in the church to get divorced because it says in the book, for the Lord thy God hates divorce, right? But then at the same time in that book, he granted Moses a certificate of divorce for the hardness of the heart. So God may not like divorce, but he allows for it to happen. Sometimes it has to happen. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's what in this case, again, we don't know all the details, but I just
Mhm.
know the pressures of not only just being a Hollywood couple, but a religious or spiritual or church couple in a Hollywood environment. Woohoo! That has to be difficult.
I
That has to be
wonder. Oh, okay. I want to say this. I wonder, what about this though too? I look at the fact that they've been married for so long, right? And they married, they were fairly young. They were in their 30s. And what I kept wondering was, and forgive me because I'm not over anybody's uterus. So I'm going to state that. This is just my thought. This is just my thought. I'm not saying she should have or they should have, but you kind of wonder, like, they got married, I think, in the year 2012. And so you're in your 30s and, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years go by, 5 years. Where are the children? Where are the children? This man doesn't have any children. She didn't have any children. But, you're married and you seem to be getting along. You seem to be happy. After a couple of years, you kind of say, well, this is a fit. This is something that I can stick with. And I wonder if maybe it seems like he may have wanted children, but maybe she didn't. I don't know. Um this is just my opinion. And I'm just
yeah.
wondering because I think that men when they marry, if they've discussed this with you that they want to have children, because there was some talk that she was a couple of years back that she was freezing her eggs, but she was already in her late 30s. So, ma'am, why are you freezing eggs when you're in your late 30s and you're supposedly, allegedly, happily married? Why not just go ahead and have the children now?
That is a strange dynamic when they've been married for so long and there's no children or even a report of a pregnancy or so forth
Right.
in their union. But I'll say this about women in show business or Hollywood: a lot of them have children, but a great majority of them, because their living is so based on how they look and their figure and their bodies and all that kind of stuff, that they don't want to have children to kind of throw their body or throw their weight off, and because some women put that baby weight on and can't get it off.
That's
Okay,
true.
so there's a big fear there with that. And
Yes.
she's still trying to elevate and do movies and do her career and stuff like that. She's like, listen, maybe, yeah, I don't want to have children right now. Maybe I don't want to have children at all. Because I remember when I was younger, there was a big star. Her name Raquel Welch. You know Raquel Welch.
Of course. Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely.
Raquel Welch was a very beautiful woman. She had her share of men, but she didn't have a child until she was 50. Okay, well after her heyday.
Mhm.
Okay, so she waited to have children because she wanted to get all her career goals, all her career oriented goals taken care of, and whatever she needed to do, and whoever she needed to date and travel, or whatever she wanted to do. Then she decided to have a child at 50, which is a little more risky, of course, for a woman to have a child at 50. But that's what she chose to do because she didn't want to lose her shape, her frame. She probably wanted to be a dedicated mother and knew in her heyday she could not provide that kind of time to a child. That
Mhm.
may have been Megan's other issue. If I have a child now, I'm
Mhm.
still trying to go places career wise. I'm not going to have time to sit home with a child all day. Maybe he wanted her to do that. She wasn't willing to do it. No, there was you know the Temptations, the leader of the Temptations. I forgot his damn name. What's his
Ruffin?
name? Not David
David Ruff
Ruffin. The
Oh,
one that started the group. You know,
okay.
uh, Otis. Otis, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Otis started the Temptations, and that's his group and so forth. And at one point, he fell in love with Patti LaBelle, and Patti LaBelle fell in love with him, and they were
Mhm.
dating, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
And in the midst of this dating, he wanted Patti LaBelle to stop singing and just yeah, just stay home, spend the money, be a wife, do that. And Patti LaBelle's like, no, bro, I can't do
Mm.
that because
Right.
my gift is for the world. She said, if I gotta sing for free, I need to sing, you know.
Right.
And he did not want her to do that. So that marriage,
Mm.
that relationship failed. Okay.
Right. Well, it
So
sure would have. Right.
right.
Okay.
So when you have these clashes like that, the communication is not there. This is probably something they should have discussed before the marriage. But again, in the beginning, when you're high on each other and it looks good and you smell good and everybody loves you and all that kind of stuff, you get caught up in that high until reality sets in. And once reality sets in, woo wee, that's a whole nother animal.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's an excellent point that there's a lot of things that go into it. I just feel like did they really know each other? Did they really truly know each other and really have the chance to really understand what each other's desires and goals were, you know? I think that I believe that they really care for each other and probably still care for each other. But if a man or a woman has a goal of eventually having a family, raising children, and they have, I think, it's so important for us to discuss the expectations and the visions, the dreams that we carry inside of us, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And if you don't discuss that and you're not truthful, like maybe someone says their goals first and you say, "Oh yeah, that sounds good, babe. Let's do that." But that person never takes the time to ask you, "But babe, what was your goal? What is your desire? What is your dream?" And maybe your dream and goal and desire is at odds with the other person. Are there things that you can do to meet in the middle? And are you willing to meet in the middle, or would you regret, like, for example, the idea or the goal of having children? That's kind of something that's binary. You either have them or you either don't. I mean, you can adopt, you can have a surrogate, whatever you want to do, but that's kind of like it's not an in between thing. You can either have children or you don't have children, but there's no middle ground for that, right?
No, there's not because I have three children, and I have a stepson, which makes four because I claim him as my own. And I'm gonna tell you something; these people are expensive. So you're gonna have children and raise children. If you're gonna be a responsible parent, that's a lot
Mhm.
of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of energy, and you just have to have that to do it. And if you don't have it, don't think about having no children. See, children are not for selfish people. If you are an inherently selfish person, don't have any children. Please don't have any children, because anybody can lay down, but it takes special people to be parents. Because that's an all day, 24/7, 365, never resting job, and it's a thankless job because your children don't appreciate what you do until they get grown and have their own children. And then
Right.
they say, Dad, I know what you went through. Mom, I know what you went through with me. Thank you so much. Then they see it. But I'm a close with this regarding Devon Franklin and Megan Good.
Megan Good, right?
Yeah, Megan Good. Um, Vicky Winans, she was married to Pastor Marvin Winans of the Great Winans family, right?
I know
And
all about that. Okay, that's
right,
my neck of the woods, right?
right. They're divorced, okay?
Mhm.
And Vicky did a public apology to him. It's on YouTube in front of his congregation. And she got up there and she apologized because she said when they first started the church and stuff, they didn't have a lot of money. They weren't rich. They were struggling. He was having the church members come to the house and sit on her white couches and all kinds of stuff. And she wasn't with all of that. She wasn't
Right.
a religious spiritual person in the least. Okay, and she made it difficult for him. So over
Mm,
time, the marriage suffered because they weren't on the same page. He wanted to build a church. It's very difficult to build a large church. It's very difficult to build a successful church. She wasn't
right.
signed on. She wasn't all in on that.
Oh,
But
wow.
he apparently did not know that.
Well,
Marriage.
wow. Yeah, that's surprising. That's news to me, and they're in my neck of the woods. So yeah, okay.
Okay. But they stay together a long time because with churches, it's really, really taboo to get divorced. They look at you like, okay, you're followers of Jesus. Jesus wouldn't get divorced. Jesus never married. So keep him out of that part of it. Okay.
Right, right, right.
At the end of the day, these are just people. It doesn't matter what your religious or spiritual background is, who you're a follower of nothing. At the end of the day, you're people. Okay. And when people are incompatible, they lack chemistry, they lack communication, they're not on the same page. Okay. That is the beginning of the end. Believe me. And people who get divorced in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, trust and believe, the marriage did not start going bad in year 20. It started going bad in year 5 or 6. They held out till year 20 and couldn't take it no more and got divorced.
Maybe. Well, what kind of encouraging note can we close out on, and then we're going to answer the question at the end. What are our plans for the new year? What kind of projects and things that we have? Kabisha wants to know, but so what's the takeaway from this? What's the takeaway from 2021?
2021 is, despite all of the craziness that COVID has caused, that the presidential decisions, the government lockdowns or shutdowns or this and so forth. I mean, the world is chaotic in a chaotic place.
Crazy turnarounds, right, right.
Right. So, but despite all of that, the divorce rate and all this, that you can still find joy. You can still find happiness, but it starts within you. What makes you happy? Are you happy with yourself? Because when you start looking out to other people to make you happy or make you whole, you already lost. You're done. You have to be a happy, whole person within yourself. And you can do that. You find a hobby, find out what you're talented at, get a goal and
What are your
address and attack
gifts?
that
What are your
goal.
Yeah, what are your gifts? What are your
What are
natural
your
gifts,
gifts?
and what are your interests?
Right. So you can do all that despite the chaos that's going on in the world because, you know, this is a year where, despite all this craziness, and I'm going to talk about this when I start my podcast, but a lot of wealth has been created this year through cryptocurrency and other investing. But nobody talks about that. There's been a lot
Oh,
of
okay.
millionaires created. A lot of millionaires created this year. A lot. Okay.
Okay. That's
So
something I want to know more. I want to learn more about.
yeah. And we'll talk about that when I start my podcast.
Okay.
But despite all that, you can find happiness. Grab it when you can. You have family like me. I love my siblings. Me and my siblings are very, very close. I hold on to them dearly, and my other family members. So you have family, hang on to them. Appreciate them while they're here. Don't wait
Right.
till somebody's gone to go, I should have said this. I should have said that. No, say it now.
Say it now. Right. Right.
Don't let your pride and ego get in the way. Say it now.
Love
So
now. Love
love,
now.
yeah, love now. You know what I mean? So I want to throw that, Aubrey. What's your biggest takeaway from this year?
My biggest takeaway from this year is that out of all of this, out of all the things that happen, that just a simple kindness that you can show your neighbor, your children, your spouse, your loved one, it can make such a big difference. If we could just all show a little more kindness. And I think this was something that you touched on our last our last broadcast, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's so true. It's so true. It's the little tiny things that make it all work, just just being a little more kinder, um, just subscribing to this channel, liking this
Right,
video, and putting a comment down in the comments section to continue the conversation after we close out, as we're about to do in the next minute or so.
right.
So, like, share, comment, subscribe. It's really simple. Those are some of the things that we can do. Those are some of the things that we can do for one another because honestly, I don't know how I got on YouTube or what made me do this thing, but I'm loving it here. But I'm telling you, there is more to it than you will ever know unless you're doing it like Kamisha, like myself, like Misha Allen, like my comrade Kia Simone, like Janice Hilton. There is so much to this thing. I was just telling a friend of mine earlier today that people don't understand what goes into creating a thumbnail. I never even understood that I had to make a thumbnail. So I used to throw videos up and YouTube would create the thumbnail, which was when I looked at it, I'm like, why does my thumbnail look like that? And then somebody said, well, you got to go to one of these sites and you got to take a picture and you got to do this. You got to become a graphic artist. I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyway, but back to the point. So this year, what I've learned is that speaking my truth and sharing my opinion is really made me a wholer, fuller person. So I think I'm going to be here a while on this YouTube thing, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, if you could help me on this journey, like, share, comment down below in the comments section on the replay. You can tag replay in there and just talk to us about what portion of this video that you listened to and what touched you. Was it the Nene Leaks and the Greg story? Was it the Phil and Shiloh? Talk to us about it and some of the things that stood out to you in this year of 2021. All right. That's what I'd like for all of you to do. And I'd like to thank my special guest, Alex W. Lee. You are so awesome. You're just so wonderful, right? I just thank you for being here, for all your commentary. I don't agree with all the things you say, by the way, Alex, but
You're
but
not
but but
supposed to.
yeah, but you really do add and represent the men really well. And I get a lot of comments from guys who tell me after the broadcast that says, you really had a lot of good things to say. So just keep representing, and I hope that more men will comment and come on, because we're gonna soon be doing like some open chats where you guys can come up and join us and speak your mind too. Those are some of the things coming up in the new year. There are going to be some new shows to be reviewed, and I plan on doing, get this, guys. I plan on doing Married at First Sight. I'm going to be covering that. That'll be one of my shows that I'll be covering again. So we're going to finish out strong with the Ready to Love uh, situation and the reunion and the episodes coming up. So Alex and I will be back shortly to report on the latest episode, which will air this Friday coming up. So guys, thank you for joining us. And as always, I'm
Aubrey,
actually,
Aubrey,
yes.
we forgot to
Oh,
answer Kamisha's question. What are your plans for the new
that
year?
no, we are. We've answered it. We've answered it. That's what we're just talking about, Alex.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm thinking about individual things. That's what I was thinking about.
Okay. So I'm actually Aubrey and he's,
Alex W. Lee, thank you. Love you. See you soon.
love you guys. We're out.